Coming up on Your Europe, a member of the European Parliament, Ms. Hilde Voetmans, pushes for a solution for the 10,000 missing refugee children. In the same time, she hosts in the Parliament Kakuma film by Leven Korthut, the director who lived for 5 years in the refugee camp Kakuma. On top of this, 2 young refugees shares their story with us. Stay tuned for more. This is Haragioka. Welcome to Actua TV. Welcome to Your Europe. During 2015, more than 89,000 unaccompanied children arrived in the European Union, of which, according to Europol, more than 10,000 have disappeared since the moment they entered a European territory. It is assumed that pan-European gangs are trading minors for sex work, slavery or organ trade.
Spread by wizards.
Hilde Voetmans, a Belgian member of the European Parliament, is pushing for a new proposal to come into force in order to tackle this situation. At the same time, invites in the European Parliament the director of the film The Invisible City Kakuma, Leven Korthut, who lived in Kakuma refugee camp in Africa for 5 years, to present his movie and share his experience. How a refugee camp that was built in urgency to host refugee children turned into a whole city with schools, shops and restaurants. How possible is refugee camps in Europe to also turn into whole cities as Kakuma and host thousands and thousands of refugees for a series of years? Joining me to this episode, Ms. Hilde Voetmans is a member of the European Parliament from Liberal and Democrats. Welcome. Mr. Leven Korthut is the director of Kakuma film. Welcome. And we invited on our set 2 youngsters, 2 refugee youngsters, 16 years old Swaim and 7 years old Zubair. Welcome. Yep. So, for someone that have not seen your movie yet, yep, can you please, in few words, describe and transfer to us the situation in Kakuma camp? And in particular, explain us how refugee camp that meant to be temporarily host refugees turned into a whole city.
Yeah, Kakuma refugee camp is situated in the north of Kenya, close to the border with Ethiopia, South Sudan and Uganda. And it was started 20 years ago as an answer to the crisis of Sudan.
20 years ago?
20 years ago, so it exists already 20 years. And it hosts today almost 200,000 people. And the camp turned into a city because you have 200,000 people living there all together, and people can't wait for years and years and years to something will happen, and nothing will happen with them. So they also understand that it's a situation like a limbo situation, and they started opening shops. There are schools now. It's like a real city, yeah, and it's as big as many other African cities at the moment, and it's one of the fastest growing cities in East Africa. And it's a real city. Like, you have schools, mosques, churches, and they all live together. There are 14 nationalities living in Kakuma now. The aim is safety. Kakuma is still a safe place, but they want to build up the future. And after a while, they find out, if they finish school, they find out there's no real future in a refugee camp. And then it's when they start thinking about taking the journey to Europe.
Aside from the movie, I'm aware that you have made an application to help children to find, unaccompanied children, to find their parents.
Yeah, I noticed we had a small girl in the film, and she was left alone there. She lived with another family, and they moved 3 times. So I thought, if the mother will come back, it will be, because there are 200,000 people living at Kakuma, it will be very difficult, and it will take months that the mother will find back the kid. So, and I teach in the school, and I found out there are many kids like the small girl. And Kenya has a very good 3G network, and most of them have smartphones. Most teenagers and families have a smartphone. So we made an app. And it works very simple. The first person fills in his name, his father's name, and his grandfather's name, the country he's from, the village or town, and his phone number in Kenya. A second person comes, they do the same, and if there is one match, the first person gets an SMS. Do you know this person? Yes or no. If you know, you can call. If you don't know, you can leave it like that.
Ms. Voetmans, is the case of Kakuma is an example for refugee camps within Europe, or is something that we need to fear of, meaning that our refugee camps, they meant to temporarily host refugees, but they might also turn to hold cities and remain as such for a series of years.
I really think we should make sure that the camps in Europe will not turn into Kakuma. I think a refugee camp should be temporarily, should really meant to give a safe place to people and then to find them a way, either to return back to home when the situation is safe, either to find a place somewhere else. But I don't think a refugee camp is meant to turn into a village to stay. I don't think that's good. If you see the situation now in Greece, for example, there are a lot of refugee camps and a lot of population there are children. I can't stand the idea that the children are growing up in a refugee camp. Children belong with a family, within a family, taken care of. They're victims. And so that's really one of the points I really want to make here.
Well, only by 2015, we have in a European territory 89,000 children refugees, unaccompanied refugees. And we have somehow missed more than 10,000. I'm aware that you have drafted a proposal to the European Commission. Can you explain us further what are you actually trying to do?
Well, for me, first of all, it was Europol who stated that we missed 10,000 children within Europe. And so then I started to look for them. And I started to find out, how can you miss 10,000 children? How is that possible in 2016? And so the longer I'm looking into the file, the more details, of course, we know. And so first of all, I'm really asking that the Commission make a new action plan to fight this, to take care of the minors, to take care of the children who enter Europe. I think that's the first step. Secondly, we have to make an action plan to find them back. I mean, they can't be missing like that. They are somewhere within Europe. Hopefully, and that's what Europol says, well, you have different ways. Hopefully, they are somewhere in another country. So it shouldn't be too difficult to find them if we look for them. But that's a problem. Nobody is looking for them. I stated in an opinion state, well, it's a pity that we're not looking for them, but that's maybe because it's not a white girl with blondie curls. I really think, and the figures are saying that if children who are in a center within Europe, they don't get in there at night, it takes some nights 3, 4, 5 days without going to the police and mention that they didn't come in. Can you imagine that your cat or your dog is not entering home? You're putting it on Facebook straight away. And here, nobody really straight away reacts. So Europol really asks us, and that's what I'm trying to do, is create awareness. Those are children. Those were already victims of smugglers. So please take care of them. And so that's what I'm really asking. Take care of them. Make sure that when they are missing, you look for them. And then, of course, you need to have a broader political plan. We have to tackle really the migrant crisis on a bigger scale, to make a plan all together. It's and Commission and Parliament and all the member states. And that's really what we need to do.
Swaim and Zubair, you've seen the film.
Yeah.
Was it any close to the reality you've personally have experienced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see the film problem for the I come from Somalia like this, but come all Africa like this, come is like this problem. No school very well, no water very well. Alima problem. I'm this now in Belgium. I come in Belgium to live and Belgium to be very well and to live and to study very well my future. Yeah.
I have faced with something like this. Then when I see the film and then I shocked.
You lived in a refugee camp yourself?
No, but I see the people in my country because there's like this in problem.
Where are you coming from?
From Afghanistan.
And how you came here?
I come with a smuggler, and they take me to the airport. I don't know. My mother talked with the smuggler, and he wants to come to Belgium. I don't know where, but she talked with the smuggler. I came halfway with
aeroplane and halfway with the car. And after 12 days, I was in Belgium, and they told me that you have to stay here and we go to other way else.
I have to sincerely thank you for sharing this with us, and sincerely thank you both, and thank you all of you. See you next season.